Meanwhile, Israel has begun a ground offensive in Gaza City, which the UK has condemned as reckless and appalling. 3 people will go on trial in March after pleading not guilty to supporting the banned group Palestine Action. A man and 2 women were arrested after a protest in central London in July. Leonardo DiCaprio has called the death of Hollywood icon Robert Redford a huge loss.
Not only was he an incredible actor, he was an exceptional director as well as actor. Films that will stand the test of time, but more than anything, he was an avid environmentalist. He was a hero to many in our industry, including me.
The legendary star, known for films including Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid and The Sting, died at home in Utah at the age of 89, surrounded by loved ones. Meryl Streep called him a lion. He won Oscars as a director and founded the Sundance Film Festival to celebrate independent cinema. In the city, the FTSE 100 has closed down 81 points at 91.95. The pound buys $1.36 and €1.15. LBC weather. Heavy rain affecting much of the UK tonight, but heavier in the west. Dry for northeast Scotland, but windy. Lows of 6 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. Cross Question with Iain Dale.
Hello, a very good evening. 9:05 is the time on LBC. Yes, Cross Question is an hour late tonight because of Cammy Badenoch. She gets blamed for everything, doesn't she? We are awaiting the imminent arrival of Air Force One at Stansted Airport. Looking at pictures on my TV screen, it hasn't quite landed yet. 15 minutes late. What are you doing, Mr. President? But on our panel tonight, let me introduce our guests. We have Anna Turley, Labour Party Chair and MP for Redcar. Wendy Morton, Conservative Shadow Development Minister and MP for Aldridge Brownhills. Sir Trevor Phillips, broadcaster, who's a former chair of the Equality and Human Rights Commission, presents the Sunday morning politics show on Sky News. And John Caudwell, billionaire, entrepreneur and philanthropist, known for founding the retailer Phones for You. They're here to answer your questions. You can, of course, watch us on Global Player and the LBC app.
Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850. Cross Question with Iain Dale. This is LBC.
Well, let's start with a question from Julie, who says, what would your message be to President Trump if you were at the state dinner in Ed Davies' place? I asked that to Cammy Badenoch, saying, are you going to do Ed Davies' dirty work and ask President Trump about Gaza? And she said no, she would ask him about the economy. Wendy Morton, are you going to the state dinner?
Oh, come on, Iain. I wouldn't get an invite to an event like that. So what would I ask the president, or what my message would be? I suppose he's coming on a big visit here to the UK. I would ask him, what does he want to get out of this visit? Where does he see the relationship between the UK and the US going? Because actually it is a really critical relationship. Yes, in the previous interview, Kemi asked about the economy. I think that is really important. It's about the UK and the US, the trade relationship, because that then means business for the UK, hopefully, support for our businesses, which is about jobs as well, which are really, really important. And that's the sort of thing that I know my constituents would be interested in.
John Caudwell.
I'm afraid I'd be struggling to ask him anything that I'd be really interested in the answer to.
He's the President of the United States.
I know he is, and that's probably why I wouldn't ask
billionaire to billionaire.
No, please don't put me in the same category. But
you are.
I wouldn't ask the questions, because the questions that I would answer would be challenging him in ways that he wouldn't want to be challenged, and I'd be wanting to very much protect the relationship between the US and the UK. So I suppose really if I had to ask something, it would probably be, why aren't you taking a more heavy-handed approach to Russia in the hope of forcing Russia into a different position, rather than being so gentle with them.
That's a question I would ask, I have to say. Just to say that Air Force One has landed. It's taxiing on the runway at Stansted Airport. I don't expect that Donald Trump will say anything as he comes off the plane. He'll be greeted by the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, and Lord Lieutenant of something, was representative of the royal family. I'm sure we can get his name for me a little bit later. Anna Turley, what would you like to say to Donald Trump?
Well, I think
You must be at the state dinner, chair of the Labour Party.
I wish I was. Sadly, I haven't quite hit those heady heights as yet. But no, I think my priority would be what gets me out of bed every single morning, which is jobs, jobs, jobs. And I think I've been really excited to see some of the announcements that have come out this week around investment in nuclear, investment in the financial sector, investment in tech and data centres. This can be an absolute game changer. And I think one of the things, for all the noise that's going on at the moment, the relationship we've built with the US in terms of trade deals and getting our two countries to a place where we are working in tandem on economic growth is absolutely crucial to constituents like mine who really want to see those jobs in nuclear, in steel, in manufacturing and motor manufacturing and in aviation. These are the real priorities for me. So I'll be grilling him about how much money and investment and how many deals he can do with us.
Trevor Phillips.
Well, I think the thing you've got to understand about Donald Trump is that, a lot of my family lives in New York. And we all know, I have 5 sisters living in New York.
Do you?
Well, yes, I do. And
How come?
There are 10 of us.
Wow.
My elder sister lived 10 minutes away from the Trump mansion, so every time I go there, I walk past the Trump mansion. And everybody in New York knows this kind of guy. So, first point, Don, if we gave you a dukedom, would you sort out this tariffs thing? I mean, serious, real deal. There's a dukedom in this place called York. We could arrange that because the guy's got it at the moment doesn't really use it. So first thing. The second thing, I agree with John. Caudwell, Putin, come on, are you really serious? Are you going to let this guy walk all over you? I think that would be a question I would ask Donald Trump, because I know that the prospect that people might think that he is being beaten by Vladimir Putin would be the greatest spur for him to sort out Putin.
Completely agree with you. What do you think that Keir Starmer's conversation with him is going to be like? Because I would be fascinated to... I don't know if they still have recording machines in the White House like they did under Richard Nixon, but wouldn't it be fascinating to hear a recording of their little one-on-one chats? What should Keir Starmer's agenda be in this state visit? Trevor.
Oh, you're asking me. I'm the least diplomatic person in the entire world, as you know, Ian. I imagine there'll be a lot of small talk.
They're very charming with it.
Thank you. You're so lovely. I imagine there'll be a lot of small talk. If I were Keir Starmer, I would spend a lot of time wrapping the president in the trappings of the royalty, reminding him of our historic relationship, and just nudging him in the direction of being not going easy on Britain, but realising that we are, even if every now and again it gets a bit scratchy, we are America's best allies, and we are one of the few countries that doesn't cozy up to America just because they're rich and powerful, but connects with America because actually, at root, we are not even similar people. We're the same people.
But I suppose the main thing for Keir Starmer is to come out of this saying, I might have mentioned Epstein once, but I think I got away with it.
Who?
Exactly. Let's take a follow-up question from James, who says, if Trump raises the problem of free speech in the UK when he meets Keir Starmer, is he right to do so? Is there really a free speech crisis in this country? Anna Turley.
Well, I think we've got a really, really proud history of free speech in this country, but of course we do also have, there are and always have been limits on free speech, libel laws, etc. And I think it's a fascinating debate at the moment. I am concerned about some of the sort of importation of sort of culture wars and things from the US, and I think we want to make sure that we have our debates and our discussions in the UK in a way that we always have done. I believe in with civility, with freedom of speech, with the freedom to express our views, but it's really important for me that we continue to do so in a way that is tolerant, that is diverse, that respects people with different opinions. We've seen far too many incidents over the last few years of really incendiary discussion and debate, and I think that's a challenge, particularly fueled by social media, that both our countries face at the moment. And so I don't think we have a free speech crisis in this country. I'm very proud of the laws and that we have to defend that. But
why do so many people think that there is?
Because I think there is a degree of a sort of culture war going on at the moment, and I think people are exploiting this to try and silence people who disagree with them, and that's on both sides. And I think we really need to make sure that our debate is tolerant, but is honest and is challenging to each other. But we've seen 2 MPs murdered in the last 10 years. We have to make sure that we are a country where we can discuss and debate freely and respect each other's differences.
Wendy?
I think Anna's right when it comes down to respect and being able to respect our differences. But I think if clearly some people think we do have an issue, otherwise so many people wouldn't have been out on the streets at the weekend. And I think, some have to be really careful about describing those people as far right, because I know there were people on that march, on that walk, there were families there who just wanted to be able to be part of it and express themselves. I personally think that each and every one of us should be responsible for what we say, and it's wrong if people feel that they can no longer have a voice. But it is really imperative that everybody is tolerant and remembers actually who they are. But our country was as I was going to say grown up, but I don't know whether that's the right word, but we've come through the ages with the ability to express who we are. And I think that's a fundamental part of also not just who we are, but also our democracy in this country as well. And long may it continue. But as I say, I do think some people strongly feel that there is that there should be more, that they are feeling stifled at the minute. But I think that goes to the heart, perhaps, of some other issues that we have in the country as well at the moment.
Just looking at my television screen here, Air Force One has come to a standstill. The steps are waiting for Donald Trump to come down them. He's going to be meeting the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, and Viscount Hood, a lord-in-waiting who's representing the King. John Caudwell.
Well, I think to be able to answer that, I'd have to understand what the challenge is that says we don't have free speech, and what are the examples of why people would accuse us of not having free speech, and then that could be debated. I don't have a view that is anything other than Britain is an incredibly open country. We've got a great legal system. We have a lot of desirable, very characteristics, and I think free speech is a very, very strong part of that. But those people that want to say that we haven't got free speech, I'd like them to quote an example of why it's not free speech and then debate that with me.
Well, I suppose a lot of people will say, well, Lucy Connolly is a good example of this, where she made an incendiary, I think it was a Facebook post, not a tweet, about migrant hotels, and it was very racist. She deleted it, I think, within 40 minutes, but she was actually sent to prison for it. And this is what J.D. Vance has been quoting all of the time. So, I mean, that would be, according to those people, one example.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can quote those sorts of examples, but look what's happening in the States. People talk about what's going on, and then they're suddenly investigated. I think it was John Bolton, was it? Have I got the right name?
It is Bolton, yeah.
Yeah, and he's been criticising from within, really, because he was part of Trump's administration. He's been criticising, and all of a sudden, all his records are raided from home and office and taken away. So when J.D. Vance wants to accuse us of lack of free speech, can we not be in a glass house throwing stones through the window?
Trevor Phillips.
Look, don't underestimate Trump. He's not an idiot. He knows if he's going to poke us, it's going to be about something real. And he's probably got 2 things he might say. One is Online Safety Act. Lots of virtues of that, but it is also potentially, we don't know yet, but there is also potentially risk. I chair an organisation called Index on Censorship, which has been 50-something years old. We campaign for freedom of journalists and artists to do their work, and a lot of our work is basically publishing the works of people in Belarus and Russia and China, in Africa and so on, and also helping them in various ways to do their business. We worry with the Online Safety Act that actually people who want to use online means to fight regimes are actually going to be compromised by some of the technical aspects of this act. And that, I'm afraid, to some extent, coincide with interests of some of the big American tech companies who are worried about something very similar. And I think Trump will raise that. But a more concrete point, and the answer to your question, Iain, I think Lucy Connolly is a terrible example. It's nonsense. I mean, she broke the law. She should have been locked up. However, on Saturday, if you had to choose the standout moment of the day, it was the appearance of a 13-year-old girl called Courtney Wright, who people will remember in July went to her school's culture day wearing a Union flag designed dress. She was told that that wasn't really appropriate. She was put in isolation until her father could take her home because that was somehow, as though, frankly, white British people do not have culture. They don't have anything to celebrate. Now, that, I think, is a sort of thing, because Donald Trump is really smart. He knows where to find your bruise and how to punch it. I suspect that's the kind of thing that he will raise. And it's a kind of challenge that we, frankly, are still failing.
Well, Donald Trump and Melania are walking down the steps of Air Force One at the moment. Very bad lighting, I have to say, in these pictures, as I suppose you have to expect that. And he is being greeted by, that is not Yvette Cooper, but the greeting party is made up of the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, Viscount Hood, who is the Lord-in-Waiting to His Majesty the King. So he's going through a line, shaking lots of hands. Don't expect him to say anything into a microphone, which he normally likes to do when he comes off the steps of Air Force One, but we'll let you know if he does. And we'll come to more of your calls to our panel in just a moment. It's 9:20.
LBC. Cross Question with Iain Dale on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
9:22. On our cross-question panel, we have Anna Turley, the Labour Party chair and MP for Redcar. How do you become chair of the Labour Party? Are you appointed? Are you elected?
I was appointed, yes, by the Prime Minister. So yeah, it was really really exciting. I mean, I'm a 20 years I've had of membership in the Labour Party and all kinds of different roles.
And you're also Minister without portfolio. Does that mean basically you don't have anything to do?
Well, no, I wish that were the case, but my civil servants have piled a whole load of things on me that it's great to get my teeth into.
No, but seriously, what does it mean?
It means that for me, it's about the conversation I had with the Prime Minister was very much about bringing the party and government closer together. I think sometimes we've been a bit of in danger of having the kind of government over here getting on with things with the civil service as we have done, and the party over here, and actually saying, well, what are our values? What's our vision for the country? And making sure that we bring the two together, and it's a kind of two-way. It's one team basically, and I think that's really what I'll help to try and drive.
OK, Wendy Morton is here, Conservative Shadow Development Minister and MP for Aldridge Brown Hills. I drove through your constituency on Friday night.
I heard, yes. I know exactly where you were. You were actually, in the constituency.
I was. We also have John Caudwell, who is billionaire, entrepreneur and philanthropist. When you get described as billionaire, do you sort of slightly, I don't know, I think
I can't get away from it.
It's a huge achievement.
I can't get away from the title, so I don't worry. But for me, the far more important thing is being a philanthropist and giving 70% of my wealth away during or after my lifetime. That's what I stand for. I am a full-blown capitalist, and I very much support capital behaviour and making money. And if people are really good at what they do, they're entitled to make that money, and really good luck to them. But I equally believe that wealthy people ought to give most of the money away, because what the heck are they going to do with it otherwise? I give 70% away, but I've still got more than enough to do anything I ever want to and leave it to my children.
What's your biggest area of philanthropy?
Children.
What do you give most to?
Children. Well, it's all sorts, really. I've helped Elton John with his HIV campaign. I've helped King Charles. I've helped a lot of charities, but the main thing is the two charities that I founded, which is Caudwell Youth and Caudwell Children. Caudwell Children looks after all children that are disabled. We've helped 80,000 children over the last 25 years. And Caudwell Youth is a new charity I founded 2 years ago, which is really exciting, because we put a one-on-one mentor with any young person between 11 and 24 who is highlighted as being at risk from criminality, repeat criminality, mental health issues, drug abuse, or sexual trafficking. And it's unbelievably successful. That's what I'm really excited about. So do I want to be a billionaire? Well, I don't really mind, but it's not really what I stand for.
So Trevor Phillips is not a billionaire yet, I think I can say, unless you want to correct me on that. But he is a renowned broadcaster, and I have the pleasure of appearing on his programme from time to time. This is very incestuous, isn't it?
I'm not saying anything about what you've just said, whether about the renowned broadcaster or billionaire. That's my business, actually.
It sounded like a politician.
But he does have the freedom of speech.
Complete freedom of speech. Actually, I'll use my freedom of speech just to say on air, John, I think that charities that you support are fantastic, and of course my wife would not forgive me. She is a trustee of a charity which looks after works with parents where the babies about to be born are at risk of domestic violence, and they do fantastic work. We don't spend enough time and money and attention in that kind of territory. But anyway,
let's go to.
Can I just say something about Anna's job?
No.
I think Minister about portfolios is a skilled job. It's like Enzo Fernandez or Declan Rice. This is the person who can do anything on the field. I mean, this is.
You've made my day compared to Declan Rice. That is my office team will be cheering at that one. But for me, it's about being a team player. And it's about, making sure our values are
enough of this, loving. Let's go to Hassan in Westminster. Hello, Hassan. What's your question, please? Rescue me.
Hello. Hi. Yeah, so I'm a Londoner and a person of colour. I was at the counter-protest on the weekend, and my younger son, got stuck in a kettle because of ineffective policing. So my question for the panel is, how worried should we be by the rise of the far right and Tommy Robinson's ability to summon so many people on the streets of London?
Right. Let's go to Anna first.
Thank you for that really important question. I was actually in London on Saturday as well, and saw a huge number of people taking part in this rally. I think we're all proud of our flag. We're all proud of our country. I'm enormously proud to be British, and patriotism can be a real positive force for good, and drive us to want to achieve more and build an even better country than we have. But I think we always have to be careful about when love of country strays into either fear or mistrust, or even worse, hatred of other. And I think we have to just be really, really careful about people like Tommy Robinson, who try to exploit some of the feelings that people have around love for their country and patriotism, and of course some of those feelings they have at the moment about perhaps fear and insecurity, about issues around crime and social behaviour around our borders, which have been left to be absolutely porous over the last sort of 5 to 10 years. Those are genuine concerns, and we have to tackle those, because that's why people are feeling insecure, and they're feeling that they're having to assert their sense of self and their sense of identity. But there's a real balance to be struck between pushing that into making communities in this country feel vulnerable, feel threatened, feeling at risk. And I know many people did feel that over the weekend. So of course, it's great to celebrate our flag. Lots of people out there being proud to be British. But I think we also have to think about what being British is. And for me, that's being fair, that's being tolerant, that's being decent. And we have to make sure that those are the values we stick to. And I don't believe Tommy Robinson is any of those things.
But a lot of the people who were attending that demonstration, I mean, they weren't necessarily Tommy Robinson followers, were they?
No. And I saw many of them. I saw families there. There were lots of people, as I said, asserting not just their right to protest we've talked about, but their pride of country. And that is a great thing. But as I said, there is a way to be patriotic, proud of this country, and have a vision for the kind of country that we want to be, but also and want it to be better, and want things that are to be changed, whether that's, say, securing our borders or having, better crime, better public services, more money in our pockets, a better ability to get on with our lives. But the reality is we also have to be conscious that there were very many people that felt nervous by what they saw on Saturday, and we can never let patriotism and pride of country flow over into, fear, hatred, prejudice.
Trevor?
I think, if I am honest, we're talking about entirely the wrong thing. I was on that. I was on the margins of that march because it's outside this office here, and I'm here all day Saturday. I went out. I talked to a lot of people. A lot of the people at lunchtime when I went out to get my sandwich from Pret, and then I went out again, saw them, and then when I was on my way home in the early evening, as the thing was winding up, I walked through it, and a lot of people wanted to chat. Here are a couple of observations. First of all, this was not frightening. I mean, I must say, people who are saying this was all terribly frightening clearly have never actually been black and walked through certain parts of this city. That was not frightening, and I know what it's like to walk through scary, racist people. And, Iain will know, if I made my name as an organiser, it was against National Front demonstrations in the 70s and 80s. This was not that. And the reason I make this point is that I think we are missing the most important thing that happened here. There was obviously some confrontation between the sort of people who turn out because they want to ruck on a Saturday afternoon. That's true about both sides. But out of the 150,000, there can't be more than 55,000 who were in that place. The other 145,000, as Anna was saying, these are kind of ordinary people that you would meet at a football match or at a concert. And you have to ask yourself, why do people like that, many of whom, I know this because I talked to them, were on a demonstration for the first time in their lives, why are they coming out at the behest of a man who has been in jail 5 times, who is a self-confessed fraudster, is all sorts of unpleasant things? What is it that's happened there? Well, I'll make one point, because I know I'm talking too much, but I think this is so important. When they talk to you about the asylum hotels, these people aren't saying we hate foreigners. What they're saying is that hotel in our town, it might be Diss or it might be Epping, as we heard, or so on. That was a place where I took my parents for their golden wedding anniversary. It's a place where my daughter had her 21st birthday. And now it's full of blokes who stand outside all day, and we don't really know them, and all sorts of things we hear happen. And it's not just the fear of that. It is a sense that we are losing something, and what those people are losing is that story of their lives. And I think politics has to get to grips with that, rather than arguing about, frankly, Elon Musk, who most people in the demonstration didn't even know spoke. I mean, let's listen to what those people were telling us, because if we do not, that is exactly how Tommy Robinson and his ilk win.
John?
I've got nothing to add to that, really, Iain, because
we have to go to the news in a minute.
Trevor summed that up amazingly, and I learnt a lot from that, and I agree entirely.
Wendy?
Yeah, I think Trevor did sum it up. I think what I would add is the point about we cannot dismiss it. Politicians need to get a grip. If you'd asked different people who were on that march, they'd have all had different reasons for being there. But I genuinely believe, and I know some of the people who had travelled down from my constituency to be there, and I think there was an element of people wanting to show their patriotism. And there is that whole question around who we are, what our identity is. And people at the minute, some of them are feeling that they're losing a little bit of that. So I think they want to be able to express their feelings. and that shouldn't be frowned upon, so long as it's done in a fair way, in a moderate way, and it's not harming others. And from what I could see, that seemed to be the general tone of what I saw certainly on social media.
Just one sentence on one fact about this. The march was wound up, because I was there right at the very end, because you know what I'm like. You have a party, I'm the last one to leave. The march was wound up by a black gospel group singing Jerusalem. So when people are going on about how this is a bunch of terrible racists, they are missing the point. And again, let me just restate it. Not because I support these people, but if you actually oppose the politics of Tommy Robinson and co, you have to first understand why so many people were attracted to it, rather than just simply painting them in colours that make it comfortable for the opponents to condemn them, rather than what's actually happening out there. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
Hassan, thank you very much indeed. We're very late for the news. It's 9:34. Here's Daryl Jackson.
Kemi Badenoch told LBC she wants to see a better trade agreement between the US and the UK, as Donald Trump has, in the last few minutes, arrived here for a second state visit. The president's now heading to the US ambassador's residence in London, where he'll stay tonight before travelling to Windsor Castle tomorrow. The Conservative leader's told LBC she wants a better and fuller trade agreement.
A US deal that would actually do something for smaller businesses, for more everyday people, would be great. Certainly a closer relationship with the US, seeing a genuine special relationship, not just us being at the back of the queue or treated differently. Those are the things that I hope we can fix with this state visit.
An Eritrean man will not be deported to France tomorrow under the government's one-in, one-out scheme. The man, who can't be named for legal reasons, has won his High Court bid to have the removal temporarily blocked. And prosecutors are seeking the death penalty for a man accused of shooting dead US political activist Charlie Kirk last week. Tyler Robinson is due in court in Utah shortly. LBC weather: heavy rain affecting much of the UK tonight, dry for northeast Scotland, a low of 6 degrees.
This is a letter from His Majesty the King. It's an invitation for a second state visit.
On behalf of our wonderful First Lady, Melania, and myself, the answer is yes. And I'm a big fan of King Charles. President Trump was my favorite president. I'm not a fan of Meghan.
Don't miss a moment.
Charles is a wonderful guy. Camilla is fantastic. A lot of people talk about the monarchy. Should you have it, should you not? I think it's a fantastic thing. It holds your country together largely. I hate to say it, but nobody does it like you people in terms of the pomp and ceremony.
The state visit of Donald Trump.
I don't know how it can be bigger than the last one.
Follow it live on LBC. Cross Question with Iain Dale on LBC.
It's 9:38 on LBC. I've just been begging John Caudwell for money. He's here with Sir Trevor Phillips, Wendy Morton and Anna Turley. A text question from Madeline, who says, could Keir Starmer really be brought down over this Mandelson row? If so, who do you reckon would replace him? Anna's gagging to answer this question. I'm not coming to you first. Wendy.
Well, on the first point, let's wait and see. I mean, it's hard to imagine really where we're at. I mean, last week the Prime Minister at PMQ was saying he had confidence in Mandelson, and then now he's
full confidence. I
was being very careful with his words. And here now we find that Mandelson has gone, but there are still so many questions to be answered, as we saw in the House of Commons today. I wouldn't have liked to have been the minister who had to come to dispatch box and answer, and I've got a lot of time for him. As to who would replace Keir Starmer, I think that is one for Anna, but I'm sure that there are plenty who would have their eye on the top job. I don't know whether Anna has.
Well, who would you least like to face?
Well, I'm not leader of the opposition, so I don't have to face anybody. So I'll just continue to do my job. But
you made a speech in the debate this afternoon. I did
make a speech in the debate.
Why did you feel the need to do that?
Because I felt really strongly that the public. We owe it to the public, Parliament owes it to the public to actually come clean and let the public know what the background to all of this is. It's not, just a couple of weeks ago we had the issue with Angela Rayner. 1 minute the Prime Minister's got confidence in her, the next that she's gone. And, I'm not saying...
This is not unusual, though.
I was just about to say, no party is perfect, but... I think politics is a really difficult moment, I think, in our country. I know that as a party we have to restore trust. There's a lot of rebuilding to be done. And now we've got a Labour Party that's absolutely plummeted, or the Prime Minister has plummeted now in polls because of issues such as this. So I spoke in the debate partly for that reason, but also I made the point during the debate that if I go back to constituencies, there are lots of other issues that are going on. And here we are, once again, debating something about integrity and probity in Parliament when actually get things out in the open and move on and debate the things that people are really, really caring about, jobs and security and...
All right, Trevor, it is quite extraordinary, isn't it, that after 15 months of a government which has a massive majority, that we are even speculating about the Prime Minister's position?
It's pretty much unprecedented. Full disclosure, and I just say this, Iain, so you don't get all the blowback from social media. Why didn't you ask him this? I think it is well known in political circles that Peter Mandelson and I have been friends.
I was actually going to say that, but seeing as you've preempted me,
Peter and I have been friends for 50 years, and I have my views about what he has done, what he hasn't done.
What other
would you like to express them?
No, because...
Well, why not?
Because you're not friends with somebody for 50 years and then when they're in trouble, you start kicking them. I just don't...
depend on the morality of the situation.
Well, forgive me, I'm not sure that many people know exactly what the morality of the situation here is.
I think I'm
not making a case for Peter Mandelson. I don't think there's any doubt that he should have gone. And there's no question about it. But I just want to be clear, because some listeners will know that we've had this relationship, and I just want to be clear, I'm not the sort of guy who's going to come on and simply pretend I don't know him, because that's the sort of thing that gets politics a bad name. I don't think that the Mandelson affair in and of itself is going to do for the Prime Minister, but I do think that it adds to a narrative which indeed Wendy's already... hinted at, last week, back Angela, then sack her. This week, back Peter, then sack him. Before that, island of strangers, I'm going to be tough. Oh, no, I didn't really mean that. I didn't read the speech. I think the problem for the Prime Minister is that he's developing a reputation of being a guy that you can't be absolutely sure that when he says something today, that's what he actually means. And I think the second thing that's a problem for the Labour Party is that when Tories ran into this sort of trouble over the last 4 years, they were absolutely merciless. And in many cases, they were completely right to be merciless, actually. And I don't think saying now, oh, really, we're different because we got rid of this person quickly is quite washing in the way that I think the government would like it to.
And I don't think it's washing in the eyes of the public either.
That's what I mean.
Really don't.
Anna Turley, let me remind you of the question. Could Starmer really be brought down over this Mandelson row? If so, who do you reckon would replace him?
I just wanted to pick up on the last point that Trevor makes. I don't think the Tories were merciless at all.
No, you were merciless on them.
Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon.
You were merciless. And that was the Angela Rayner point. Angela Rayner gave no quarter, and then it looked like she expected to be treated differently.
She did. No, I don't think she was clear. And
it looked like.
When evidence came to light, she referred herself. She stood down over a mistake. And what we saw with the Tories was that all these things would happen, and then they tried to change the rules so that
here we go again, Anna, trying to say, it was fine what you did, and we're always the bad guys. We did get things wrong. I accept that, but here we are, and Labour are doing it all over again. Sometimes a bit of humility and a little less hypocrisy from certain Labour colleagues would go down a long way.
I know that's what you'd like to see, but that's just not the case. What we have seen with this Prime Minister is that he's acting really swiftly, and he has. Of course, Angela Rayner, deputy leader.
But to say one day he has confidence in someone,
because new evidence comes to light, and I think the lawyer in him, quite rightly, when new evidence comes to light, says, "Well, that's not sustainable."
It was highlighted in the Chamber today. The amount of information that was in the public domain. Surely to goodness he must have had some doubts.
No, well, the evidence that came to light from those Bloomberg emails on the Wednesday night was absolutely untenable, and the Prime Minister was absolutely
had them
clear.
On the Tuesday. Why on earth did they let Keir Starmer go into PMQs and express confidence in Peter Mandelson when they already had these emails and they hadn't told him?
I'm not privy to that. I'm not sure any of us are privy to what happened in Number 10, but the Prime Minister was absolutely clear. He feels very let down, very angry, and as soon as he saw those
never a good look
Bloomberg
to blame your staff,
emails,
is it?
Well, he's come out and said he feels let down, not by the staff, but by Peter Mandelson. He feels let down by,
Well, I think, the reality of it is that we all get let down by our employees occasionally. We all do. And I think, it's no good as condemning Keir that he wasn't communicated with. He can condemn his people, but we shouldn't condemn him. And, I've got a lot of issues with the Labour Party at the moment because we're not doing anywhere near enough to grow the economy. And I think the budget was terrible. And I think we're going down the wrong path all the time. And I've been trying to campaign to give Keir, through Caudwell Strong Britain, the results of how we can make this country prosper again. But I don't think we should have all this backbiting between politicians. I understand it's natural. You're all trying to kill each other to win the next election. But what we really need to do is cooperate more and win on positivity rather than just trying to stab each other. And if I look at Keir, I've just criticised the economy, but I think he stepped up as a global statesman amazingly. He went over and wooed Trump, got him a state visit. He's here now because of Keir. We're the favoured nation of the world at the moment from tariff point of view. I think we're in a pretty good position compared to most. Not necessarily a good position overall, but compared to most. And I also admire Keir's stance on Ukraine. He's led the willing, and he's been very robust and strong. So for me, it's a mixed bag. He's doing a lot of things good, some things bad.
I totally agree. We've got to focus on the real issues here, and that's why I think you can hear the frustration in my voice. Because today we've published an absolutely landmark bill in the Hillsborough legislation, which families have fought for decades, and many prime ministers have not picked up. Keir Starmer's showed absolute clarity of what this government is here to do, whose side it's on, who are the people that we're here to stand up for, to give a voice to within a system that so often has let them down. That's the kind of Prime Minister that I want to see. That's the moral clarity and the vision and the judgment that I want to see.
The trouble is you've got MPs on your backbenches who are scenting blood. You have
Richard Bergen.
No. You have Jo White, who is not one of the usual suspects. She chairs the Red Wall group of Labour MPs. I was listening to the radio on Friday night, and she said, to use the Michel Barnier phrase, the clock is ticking, and he needs to get it right by May, otherwise he's in trouble. Barry Gardner, maybe one of the usual suspects, he said the same thing. Stola Creasy has said the same thing. you can sense that these things are starting.
We all feel it's a sense of urgency about what we're here to do. We've had 1 year, and of course, we're not stupid. Looking at the polls, of course we're not where we want to be, but we've had a year having to deal with a huge financial deficit in the economy, social fabric that over 15 years have been absolutely destroyed by this country, public services on their knees. These are huge challenges. We've tried to spend a year stabilising, and we now want to really step up.
In 14 months, look at how many people have had to leave government through one crisis or another. We've had the summer with
respect, Wendy.
5 Prime Ministers, Wendy.
Let me finish.
Liz Truss, the Chief Whip to Liz Truss speaking here.
Yeah, but if you just let me finish. So to try and say, we've done this, and this, and, let's get real here. We're facing some really tough times and a budget ahead. What is, Rachel's leaving it right until the last minute. We've got no growth in the economy. Unemployment is at a
highest growth in the G7.
We have got, that's hardly a record. We've got unemployment is at a highest in 4 years. The Prime Minister, yet again, backed somebody and now has had to sack them. These are the distractions that no government really, really wants.
Can you name a single Conservative minister who resigned where the Prime Minister of the time hadn't backed them first?
I'm not playing this game with you.
No, that's why. It's 9:49 question here.
Coming up at 10 on LBC, Ben Kentish.
Donald Trump touches down in Britain ahead of a 3-day visit, dangling the prospect of a better trade deal with the US. When it comes to getting Trump on side, has Keir Starmer played a blinder?
Ben Kentish on LBC.
The Virgin Atlantic holiday sale is now on. This is your sign to taste.
We have a very lively panel tonight. Anna Turley, Labour MP, well, not just MP, Chair of the Labour Party. Wendy Morton, Conservative Shadow Development Minister. Broadcaster Sir Trevor Phillips and businessman John Caudwell. Brenda has sent an email. She's in Cheam. She says, I heard Gary Stevenson on LBC earlier arguing for a wealth tax to help plug the public finances. Can anyone explain why this wouldn't be a good idea, John Caudwell?
Thank you for throwing that to me. That was predictable, wasn't it? I'm not terribly against a wealth tax. In fact, I was absolutely horrified when the 15% corporation tax was dropped out by America, because that was at least holding some of the wealthiest companies in the world to account to pay some degree of taxation. But back to your question on wealth tax. The rich-poor divide is dreadful and needs closing. But at the same time, we have to be realistic, and we have to keep wealthy people in Britain and attract inward investment. And if we're too penal against the people that are creating the jobs, creating the wealth, then actually everybody suffers in the long term. And that's what's wrong with Labour's last budget. It's all business unfriendly. And that's the image that is created abroad. And so we have a big job to do to go out there and sell to companies all over the world a reason why they should come to the UK. And this is part of my campaign with Caudwell Strong Britain, which we launched in Westminster the other night, in a view to try and attract this inward investment. And there's a very clear strategy.
We do very well with inward investment, don't we, generally?
Sorry?
We do very well.
Not well enough, no. I mean, look, it's all relative, isn't it? How well do? We do okay. But we've just lost that big pharmaceutical investment. We're winning others. Britain, it was expressed yesterday by Lord Harrington that Britain is already in a tennis match love 30 up. And it's the other points that we lose dramatically, and we cannot afford to lose those points and end up down. We have to win every single bit. We need to bring very, very high-paid, high-tech jobs into the UK in order to create prosperity, in order to grow GDP, and to increase the average salary per household.
Anna?
I agree with John, absolutely. Inward investment, global investment is crucial for us. I mean, we've just had a record £120 billion in inward investment, 5 trade deals that the Prime Minister's done, which, I think is a really substantial achievement. But absolutely right, we've got to close the gap. And, we've made huge strides with lifting the minimum wage, with giving people pay rises, particularly in the public sector, our teachers and so on. And we've seen wages increase more in this country in 10 months than they had under the last 10 years under the Conservatives. And that's really,
and what
really
about wealth tax? How are you going to
the cost of living and the money in people's
finances?
The absolute priority, I think, coming into the budget and for us in the next year ahead. Now we've stabilised the economy after the crisis of the Conservative government. Is about making sure people can feel the benefit in their pockets, and that's absolutely, I think, that's going to be at the heart of the budget. I'm absolutely not going to preempt it in any way. Rachel would kill me, but I think we've done some really good stuff in terms of wealth.
Do you know what's in it then?
Of course not. No, absolutely not. But it's some of the things we've done around, closing non-dom loopholes, VAT in private schools. We have tried to make sure that some of those who can pay the most bear the heaviest burden. And as a Labour government, we'd always want to make sure that the taxes are fair.
Why do you describe non-dom as a loophole?
Well, so we closed some of the loopholes that existed around this.
That's a grossly unfair identification of the issue, because you just imagine you were a non-dom, you came to this country 5 years ago, you've made all your money offshore, you've made it all in other countries, and you come to the UK because you value the UK as a place to live, a place to educate your children and so on. You come under non-dom rules, all the money's been made external to the UK, and suddenly, wham, you're faced with a huge problem. That's not fair. It's not even moral.
Well, I understand that, but they'll be working with a workforce that will have been educated publicly. They'll be using transport, and their teams will be using transport that public sector taxes are paying for.
Well, they might have it might have all been done offshore.
I think
and
it's
they
fair.
Just come to live here.
But then if they're living in this country, they ought to pay their fair share.
Well, how is that a fair share when they've made all the money elsewhere and they've come under a rule? What we need is political stability. You can't go hammering people that have come under one set of rules and then you change the rules to incorporate all their global wealth that they've made elsewhere.
Too many people exploiting loopholes, I think.
Wendy.
Well, this is exactly the point, isn't it? We have a government that doesn't fully understand what it's like to run a business. There's hardly any business experience in the government.
But that's true of all politicians, isn't it?
Well, actually, no, there are. We started a business.
Many politicians that have got any commercial aptitude at all.
Well, Nadine Zahawi, for example, who was Chancellor of the Exchequer, he started YouGov, turned it into a multi-million-pound business. So he had real experience.
Yeah,
but there isn't a single member of Anna's cabinet.
There's examples, but broadly speaking, where is the expertise? Where's the expertise in the current Conservative government?
There aren't as many of us now, are there? But there is expertise. There is experience on our benches of running a business. My point is, we've got a Labour government with little, if any, business experience on the front bench. A government that seems to think that we just, that making money is the wrong thing to do.
Right.
And just so I can finish, hammering businesses with things such as the employment laws.
We're running out of time, Trevor.
Very quickly, I mean, let's not make saints out of business people. Business people do what they do very well. That doesn't always work in government. I mean, simply, as John will know, you pick your clients and you serve them well. In public service, you can't do that. You have to serve everybody. It's a different discipline. On the issue of the budget, look, a lot of this stuff is marginal. Rachel Reeves got to make a big decision about how she fills the 50 billion black hole or whatever it is. And my view is she's got to ask herself, the fiscal rules, are they sustainable? They probably are not.
Well, on that bombshell, we're going to go to our final fun question. You got 20 seconds each, otherwise Ben Kentish will have my guts for garters. It is this from Lucy. A new study suggests over half of us lie about the TV we watch. So an obvious question, what is your panel's TV guilty pleasure, Wendy Morton?
When I put the TV on, I tend to binge watch a whole series of something. At the moment, something like Clarkson's Farm, or I go back to watching Car Share, which just makes me laugh every time I watch it.
John, I've started watching Billionaire's Playgrounds in Australia. What about you?
Oh, well, my guilty pleasure is really embarrassing. It's Love at First Sight.
Oh, my God. You disappoint me. Trevor Phillips.
Can I say Modesta introduced me to it? So I'm a victim.
I feel absolutely no guilt at all about what I watch. I will watch anything that's got murders in it, and the older, the better. And frankly, I'm still trying to work out how anybody is still alive in Midsummer Murders.
And that Father Brown thing as well, which my partner is addicted to. I can't stand it. But anyway, Anna.
I've always loved Gogglebox for many, many years. It's one of my absolute favourites. Ted Lasso brings me joy. It makes me happy. And I've just started watching Hostage, which is probably enough to put anyone off going into politics.
I could marry you.
I want to watch that. There's an offer.
There's a
again, on that bombshell,
is there any bigamy going on here?
To end the programme. Thank you for all of your calls and messages this evening. I will be back tomorrow from 7. Coming up at 1 on LBC is Richard Spur. But right now, here's Ben Kentish.
Iain, thank you very much indeed. He's never said he can marry me. Hello, a very good evening at 10 o'clock.
I think he represents the country so well. I've watched. He's such an...
willing to give us a better trade deal than the one that we currently have with the US. It's pretty clear that, isn't it? Contrary to most people's expectations, Keir Starmer has done a pretty good job of charming and flattering Donald Trump for the sake of our national interest. But he's done it through quite a lot of fawning and staying stum about some of Trump's worst acts. Is that a sign of good statesmanship or weakness?
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 10 o'clock, the US president landed in the UK as he begins his historic second state visit. Donald Trump will stay at the US ambassador's residence in London tonight before travelling to Windsor Castle tomorrow. Before setting off on the trip, Mr. Trump called the King his friend and spoke about fine-tuning a trade deal with the government. The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, told LBC she'll meet the US president at the state banquet tomorrow night and will talk about the economy.
The state of our economy is the biggest issue that's facing the UK. The US is growing at a much faster rate. They're getting a lot richer than us in the UK when we were at parity, and I think at a point when we were actually the wealthier country. And we should be looking at what the US is doing that we can emulate.